Hey there, welcome again to the Doctor Teacher channel, the channel in which we never stop learning. My name is Mustafa. I'm an internist, occupational health doctor, and a teacher. The subject of this week's episode is what three main study tips have helped me as a doctor in my learning. So, three essential study tips to help you also in your studying. Well, first off, why am I qualified to even make a video about this subject? That's a good question. Well, as a doctor, I always say to my interns, to the students, as a doctor, one important aspect of being a doctor is that you're a professional student because we really never stop learning. You go to congresses, you go to symposia, you always look at the literature of a subject, because if you don't do that, science will go on, and if you won't go with the times, if you stop studying, then you will be in big trouble as a doctor. So as a doctor and as a student, the way I started, I had to adapt and I had to find ways to study. And I have thought about this, and I found that there are three main tips that I can compress my study techniques in. And I'm going to take you through all three of them. So first off, the first major tip in studying is routine. Routine. And with routine, I mean, it's routine is different for everyone, right? Routine can mean I'm going to study in a specific spot in the library, or it can mean that I can only study in the evening or night hours even. Routine can mean that you need to study with someone together. My personal routine was a weird one. I had my desk. I've had the same desk for more than 15 years. I need that desk, and I needed a big cup of coffee, and I wouldn't even drink all of it, but the smell of the caffeine would help me. And another thing was, and this is maybe not everyone can do this, so please, that's not the clue. I always had a headset with which I listened to music, and it didn't, or radio, what I studied didn't matter. I always needed that headset and music on. And that's maybe not the best thing for your ears. So, but that was my routine. Same desk, cup of coffee, always on the table, the smell of caffeine, and the time. I always studied at after 9 in the evening. I know it's maybe stupid, but that was my routine, and it worked for me. So the first main thing is find your routine. And a routine means do it over and over and over again. You need to become just like a professional athlete who wears his socks the same way, who has the same shoes for a longer period of time. So find your routine. That's my first major tip. My second tip for studying is ask questions. A lot of questions. I mean, what didn't work for me was reading through all those books. I mean, because if I would just read them for a test, then I would read them passively. But what I would do was I would ask questions. I would make up questions and try to answer them. Or I would use old tests, because they usually have questions that you need to answer about that subject. Or I would ask questions to colleagues or students. That's the way that works for me. Asking a lot of questions, because by asking questions and trying to answer them, first off, you are activating a process, the thinking process, and secondly, the hypothesis being, if you ask a question, that means that you are curious, probably curious about that matter. And if you're curious about something, the chances are higher that you might try to solve it, and when you solve it, that it remains in your brain for longer. So that was my second, and it is my second main tip in studying. My third tip in the studying process is have fun. And with that, I don't mean have fun while studying. I mean reward yourself. After studying for 1, 2, 3 hours, I would always reward myself. And a reward could mean, you know what, I've earned to game for half an hour, or I earned to buy tickets for, I don't know, a concert I want to go to. But reward yourself. I know it sounds very Pavlovian. It probably is. But reward yourself. It could mean, you know what, I've worked for 1 full hour on this tough subject matter. I'm going to take a break. And just do it. Because when you do that, when you reward yourself, it re-energizes you. And another way is when you reward yourself, you're doing something that you like or that you love. And if you do that after you've studied, the chances are also that you might link those two activities with each other. And when you link them, the odds are that you might remember them for a longer period of time. So that's it. Those are the 3 main things. I mean, less is more. Keep it simple. Have a routine that you do consistently. Secondly, ask questions. And thirdly, have fun or take breaks and reward yourself. I guarantee you, if you do those 3 things, you will see a big change in the success rate of your studying. So, hey, do you have other tips? Or have you tried them and had success in them? Or have you learned in another way? Please leave a comment. I'm very curious, the magic word, about your experiences. And subscribe. It really helps. And we'll see you next week.